This conference will now be recorded.
Before we begin, we must provide a disclaimer that the following information provided is not investment advice. Our methods, teachings, and content are for educational purposes only. Okay, good morning. Today's December 17th, 2024. We have a few things we could discuss, hence, we're having a morning meeting. So, first and foremost, today is going to be Tiva. Tiva is not our number one stock, but what I did like is typically Tiva only moves about 45 cents. Today, as you can see, went from 16.50 up to 20 already. That is absolutely not typical for Tiva. And on top of that, it has printed at 20 twice. Now, there's not much other activity, although we do see some short-term prints around it. This 70, 71. We see all these 20s that are printing. My only concern with this is it's just went straight to that level of 20, which is a huge psych level, started building already. We can see there's no other form of trading. I have a feeling this is going to just hold that 20 and do some building throughout the day and not really show us much in trades. But we do know that it's moved far more than it typically does. We do know there are prints at 20, more than enough. If you're looking at this now, 16.50 to 20 is a $3.50 move. The amount it's printed at 20 is easily more than enough for at least 22. I wouldn't go as far as to say 25 just because the cycle of 20 is too big. There is absolutely not much volume in this at all, apart from the main buying, and you can see the early big volume bars here is really what accounts for most of that 6.2 million. So that's what the breakdown on Tiva is. I saw PRTG early on had a nice big bar here, as you can see, around about that 745. But when I was watching it, the substance was really weak. There wasn't anything controlling prints. You go to a major level like 10, you're going to expect them to place or put some large prints, and there was maybe two or three. So unfortunately, I don't see this doing much, probably fizzling out. But it has moved from 3 to 11. So we can see it doesn't take much to move it. So with that being said, it could easily have a 2 to 3 print personality. If we get high enough volume, then we know that the 10 can easily get to 15. But I would be very careful in this just because we can see it's not got consistency in volume. The prints are not consistent. So make sure first things first that you're seeing consistent trading in volume before you start looking for opportunity in this trade. Sea-Doo, another one I saw. Again, this is one of those that moved pretty well last few days. But if you look, it's not exactly the greatest trading stock. For a cheap stock, it's not smooth, and smooth is what we want, especially in cheap stocks. So keep it up, but I have a feeling, as you can see, there's going to be a lot of sideways action today. Not really seeing anything in form of prints, just seeing more of them acquiring massive positions. IONQ. Well, we know IONQ has been a story for 6 weeks. Now, we can only base what we do off prints. As I've said for weeks, the buying between that 30 and 38, especially 35 to 38, was more than enough for 45. But we do have prints at 42 from yesterday. It printed there twice. We already have the buying for 45. So as long as the volume continues and we have a good print personality and we have to go now prints, and we have short terms. One of the key things yesterday that I did like was those 99s with the 42. And when I've watched IONQ trade, they trade it in that strategy where they will print 99 with them controlling print level buying. If that happens, they typically continue the high level of volume and continue the money time trade. So look for the buying at 42 to have a target of 45. Make sure you're seeing that the strategy between levels remains the same. What does that mean? That if they're buying, let's say they buy short term 99 with 42, you want that to continue through 43 and 44 because they've got the volume to maintain a consistent strategy. We know all eyes and attention right now are in the quantum sector. So IONQ. The same thing as with QUBT. We just had a great morning trade. I told you there was buying 3 times at 13.50. It pulled back, gave you an entry over 13, which is below the market maker. I told you 13.50 was more than enough for 15, and we basically hit that target already. I have seen a beautiful, this bar here, right there, that bar there was absolute a complete and utter take bar. It had nothing but buying. But with us now reaching a psych level of 15 already, the target for 13.50, that take bar is interesting because it's going to look to build upon that take bar build a position below before it has a opportunity to go towards that 15 once again. I would be watching this at 14 to see what happens for new information. Is it going to pull under 14 and do the buying? So basically, it's going to build coming down, put prints at 14 and 13, 15. We had 3 times prints, basically meaning the market maker built a house, an early house at 13.50. We would expect that to hold if 14 doesn't. But if that does, the same with IONQ, we know all eyes are on this sector. So you're going to be looking for consistency in strategy and consistency in volume. And if you have the right prints at 15 and the right volume, we know that this easily can go up to 20. So these are the 5 stocks for today. Are there any other stocks you want me to take a look at? Now, as we're talking about that, I am putting together a really nice presentation and case study for IONQ from when we called the prints about 6 weeks ago at 17, believe it or not, at 17. We will be going over the whole map of prints, the whole map of action, and how it's moved through its consolidations in its small term, medium term targets, and how we've planned that to the T. And we're going to go over that tomorrow at 12 o'clock. With that being said, I don't see any other stocks. Remember, be patient. We are now coming in to the last few weeks of December. We know that's holiday time. Although we had a great day of volume yesterday, that does not mean that it's going to remain consistent. We know a lot of people will start taking off for the holidays for a few weeks. So just be patient. If you see a high percentage trade, plan exactly how that looks. What are the stages of the trade? What does the volume look like? What are your price targets? What should an entry look like? Manage your trade correctly. Don't forget what you entered and what that strategy looked like. So how did that buying occur from the market maker that you liked and that you followed in? And remember, no trades are 100%. So understand what the other side of the opportunity looks like if it wasn't meant to be at that moment. With that being said, let's all work together. Have a beautiful, beautiful morning, and I shall speak to you in the room.